I am the CEO of a Macon company, Allied Business Systems. We're a 36-year-old company here in Macon, nationwide. We make loan origination software for financial institutions. And we are growing. And we are re-engineering as we speak to the latest and the greatest to be able to stay on top of technology. And that's part of what you're here today to hear about. Business and integration of technology and how all of this comes together. And it is, my thanks goes out to the Middle Georgia Regional Commission, the Georgia Technology Authority, and TAG, the Middle Georgia chapter, along with the Middle Georgia State College. Tremendous opportunity here today for us to come together, collaborate, and to bring our thoughts together. I want to hit on a little plug here for the Middle Georgia chapter of TAG. It started a little over 2 years ago. Rob has done a great job helping us lead it forward. He is going to be on a panel coming forward here shortly. But if you're not part of Middle Georgia TAG, we encourage you to do so. We've got to have the membership to keep driving technology to Middle Georgia. And one of my favorite slogans, and I'm going to pick on Alpharetta just a little, okay? If they can do it, we can do it, right? Okay. So, Middle Georgia can be a technology hub if we all work together with the same vision and the same focus. And the people in this room can make it happen. And that's what we're hoping for. So if you're not part of the Middle Georgia chapter of TAG, we encourage it. And we ask you to please join TAG. You don't have to join TAG to be a member of the Middle Georgia chapter, but don't tell Tino I said that, okay? But we would like to have your participation in this as we move forward. My panelists, we're very fortunate to have the panelists that we have today. I'm going to go left to right. We have Kevin Johnson here. Kevin is, and I'm not going to read all their bios because you can go online and do so, but just a short introduction. Kevin is a senior visual designer in Georgia Power's Community Economic Development Organization. Mr. Johnson is responsible for developing advanced websites, graphics, multimedia presentations, and uses to attract jobs and investments in the state of Georgia. Next, we have Nikki Yu. Nikki joined the Georgia Department of Economic Development in November 2013 as an international trade manager. She focuses on information communication and technology exports statewide as well as exports in Middle Georgia. Nikki assists Georgia companies by providing market insights and global connections through local resources and state's 11 international representatives. Nikki is an active board member of the Georgia-China Alliance, the Technology Association of Georgia, and the International Business Society and the National Association of Chinese American. Next, we have Chris. Chris is Information Services Director of Georgia Southern Regional Commission in Valdosta. Chris has spent most of his 24 years in Regional Commission overseeing the GIS program, where he and his staff has developed and deployed GIS solutions for government, local governments, and nearly all aspects of local government operations. Now, he will get into depth here as to what GIS truly means, okay? All right. Next, we have Josh Walton. Now, Josh is part of the University of Georgia's Small Business Development Center, and he's the Macon Area Director. He's formerly a commercial and small business leader, and he's spent 12 years experience working with small and mid-sized lending to customers and businesses. His areas of expertise is cash flow management, financial analysis, and loan packaging. Previous banking is his expertise, as well as healthcare arena in sales and management. Next, Mr. Jay. Jay Flesher is from Warner Robins. Jay is a visionary. And Jay comes to us in one of his successful ventures, being part of the Houston County Development Authority. Jay encouraged and had a vision to have the Little League Southeastern region placed in Middle Georgia. And to his vision, the Little League International hired his company and him as the program manager for the design, site development, and construction of a $7.2 million stadium and headquarters for the Southeastern region. He currently works for Flint Energies as the Director in Community and Economic Development. And our dear beloved Larry Nager, let me say, your tweets and the following and a lot of the communication and graphics and all, this gentleman has been the forefront of helping us get this accomplished. We appreciate that. He has been very instrumental in helping us. He is President and CEO of Design and Marketing. Larry is award-winning disciplinarian in communication design, photography, videography, web development and marketing, social media, SEO consultant, social media manager, speaker, trainer, winning more than 95 awards with more than 26 years of experience in developing multimedia projects, including printing, photography, video, web campaigns for many businesses. Welcome, panel. Business integration. Margaret Ross defines business integration as a strategy whose goal is to synchronize information technology and business cultures and objectives and align technology with business strategy and goals. Business integration is a reflection of how IT is being absorbed as a function of business. Who ever heard of 15 years ago a CIO or a CTO? Okay, or CSO, or anybody else have any other acronyms? Okay, but we've come a long way, and business has absorbed this, and we've been creative, and we've started to embrace technology. And part of this, in today's business climate, any business, no matter what size you are, you must have technology to survive, whether it is the local market down the street, or whether or not you are a software developer like us. We have to do a better job, though, of integrating technology and its need into our businesses. Once businesses viewed technology as a necessary evil, and there's still some of those thinking still out there. But whereas today, if we're smart, we have the need to compete in the business world, then that necessary evil will be turned around and we will embrace technology and grow with it. Thus, our companies will grow as well. To this, we have to provide tools with the latest technology for our businesses. I'd like to start off by saying Middle Georgia has continuous needs to technology, no matter what your business may be or what you do. Here's some of the ideas I can relate to from my own business. These are things that Central Georgia needs to integrate business and technology for any of the sizes: high-speed internet, HR resources, creative ideas to help improve processes, develop technology organizations that can provide collaboration with other technology companies with common goals, no matter where on the planet we may be. Educating our community leaders, both business and political, to the opportunities that technology holds the growth for our communities. I myself, I'm not as old as some of you may think, okay? But I remember my dad, his family moved from Boone, North Carolina to Greenville, Tennessee by covered wagon, okay? By the way, students, my dad saw a lot of change in his life over the years. And now cars drive themselves without people, right? We have airplanes flying in the air. Did Daddy ever dream that, sitting on the back of a wagon going across the Smoky Mountains? No. But Daddy at age 77 went back to college and got his second BS degree. Oh, by the way, at age 86, he went back and got his third, okay? So we never stop learning, right? Okay. That's how we're successful in business, is we're constantly learning, and that's what this panel is about here today. I remember my days even. How many of you remember the IBM Selectric? Okay, guys. Oh, wait a minute. Not too many of you showed your hands. Okay. It's backfiring on me, okay? Well, today we have many different ways to communicate outside of the typewriter, that we changed the ball to change the font, okay? Remember that? Okay, all right. But now we do it just a click of a button. And the same goes with the phones. I remember getting my first push-button phone in my office. Man, that was something. That was after I got my electronic typewriter, my calculator, instead of pulling the one-arm bandit, okay? Memories. But I got a big problem. I kept dialing the wrong phone numbers because I was so good at the calculator. Guess what? The numbers are transposed on the telephone and the keyboard on the calculator. Whose bright idea was that, okay? All right, but technology, we've embraced it. But now we don't even have to do that. I have a phone system in my office that all I do is just click a bounce button and I dial a phone number. I don't even pick up the handset anymore. There's a box on my desk. I wonder what it is, you know? Okay, but that's technology. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how to take that technology and embrace that technology and bring it about in the business, and we got the panel to do it. I'd like to start off with Kevin. And Kevin, if you would, kind of give us a little background of what you do and some of your thoughts as to how business can be related and embrace technology that will help us all in our minds and in growing our minds and growing our businesses.
Okay, as he said before, I'm a senior visual designer, Kevin Johnson, working for Georgia Power. Some of my functions, and I wear many hats, but the major functions that I'm tasked to do is to create websites, create graphics, research, find new technologies. Always keep your eye on the horizon, find new technologies and finding innovative ways to incorporate that into our business unit. This has been a major part of my success in the company, is, just like you said, not just stopping in one area. The web has evolved. It has evolved and it continues to evolve. So as it continues to evolve, I try my best to evolve with it. And technology is there to make your life easier, right? It's not there to complicate things, right? So researching new technologies and incorporating to the business, and then putting it into a package and selling that to my managers, my leaders, my business units, and showing them the results and showing them the whys. And not much the hows, but the why we need this. Why do you want to have this? Why do you want to incorporate that? Why do we need to incorporate that into our business? Once they see that, they give me the funding, and we take off. And some of the things that I have implemented in the web, even growing up, growing within the company, is incorporating digital strategies, animations, video editing. One of the latest things that I researched was the gaming engine software, since, as a generation growing up, I know many of you know about video games. So now we're utilizing video gaming software to make virtual tours. And you're not having a gun and unfortunately all that, but you can walk around virtually your building, visualize your building. We can we can build a concept of your building, and we can pop it right there on your website. So that's been kind of one of the big projects that I have worked on in the past, and we continue to evolve with. Right now, it's a mobile first. Before, the mobile devices was nowhere in the equation, and now we design for mobile first, meaning responsive design and different things that compress your website for mobile devices. So now we're now designing for mobile, and that's another technology in itself, and I'm sure some of my panelists know what I'm talking about. So part of my role is actually just to keep my eye on the horizon, get informed, connect with people of like minds, and learn what's out there. And you know, you don't have to be the first. You know, I'm not the first, but I'm definitely not the last. And I find innovative ways to incorporate it into the business. And in my business unit in economic development, even though I'm not the first to develop the software, I can say I'm the first to find innovative ways to utilize that into our business to where we can bring jobs and capital investment to the state of Georgia.
Let me ask you, Kevin, in your research, some of the things that you see in common denominators and what you see in websites, as you look at different websites across the airway or the internet, what are you seeing as a common fault that businesses have?
Okay, I can go on. I'm going to try to mention some of the major faults that I see in a lot of websites, and maybe since we have different businesses and different professionals here. When you design a website for your core business, one of the first things you want to do is know your audience, who you are selling, who you're trying to reach. You cannot reach everybody. One of the things I say is highlight at least 3 things on your website. 3 things. It can be whatever you're trying to sell. Highlight 3 things on your website. Don't try to highlight everything because you can overcrowd people. It can become overwhelming. So try to highlight 3 things on your website. 3, you can go as much as 4. Another thing, responsive design is highly important. If your website is not responsive on a mobile device, you are already behind. Responsive design is now taking over. Matter of fact, most folks view your website, they're going to review it from a mobile device, either their cell phone or their iPad, and responsive design is highly critical. Responsive design is a design that will compress your site for any device. So if you don't have responsive design, if you open up your website on a mobile device and you have to pinch to zoom, that's not responsive design. You don't pinch to zoom. Responsive design is already there. You just use your thumb, and you can just scroll up and scroll down. There is no pinching. So if you open your website on a mobile device now, and you have to pinch to zoom, you don't have responsive. So try to look up ways and find ways and get the budget to try to incorporate responsive design into your website.
How often would you recommend reevaluating a website for possible upgrade and so on like this? How often would you do that?
Every year you should reevaluate your website at least once a year, and you should upgrade it. Now, if you can add live content, and let's just say this, what do you do with a flyer? If you get a flyer, it's cool, you look at it, it's nice. But then after a while, you throw it out. If you're not updating your website becomes a flyer, and people will not go to your website. Updating your website can be as simple as adding different social media feeds to your website. If you have a Twitter and a Facebook page, you can add that to your website. You might want to change your website every 3 months, add some new imagery there, just little things. Just make sure it's transforming and keep it alive. Don't just build your website, set it, and forget it. I say when you say reevaluate your website every year and see if you want to change your design up. You may not want to change your design. You may want to keep it, but just reevaluate your website every year. Get some feedback. Get some feedback from people that you know, or talk to somebody that you don't even know and just say, here's my website, what do you think? Get some feedback. It's crucial that you get feedback. And so every year, look into say to yourself whether I need to redesign my website or not. In a lot of cases, most folks don't redesign it. They just change the structure a little bit. But do not keep your website the same. Do not just throw stuff out there and just leave it alone. And for communities that in economic development, I say add a news feed there. People want to see what's going on in your community. Add a news feed there and let folks know this is the latest and greatest going on in your community. So don't make your website become a flyer, because we throw flyers away, but keep it alive and keep it fresh.
Thank you, Kevin, very much. Any of the panelists want to make a comment? Okay. All right, Nikki, if I could, we're very fortunate to have you, and we'd like to know how we can take our businesses and branch out beyond Central Georgia. And maybe you could enlighten us as to some of the secrets that you hold so dear that could help us in expanding our businesses.
Yeah. So as Billy mentioned, I am with the Georgia Department of Economic Development, the International Trade Division. And for those that are unfamiliar with the department, we are the sales and marketing arm for the state. So whether it's bringing new investments and recruiting companies to locate in Georgia, or whether it's helping existing industries grow and compete and have the resources and the support to be successful, we work with the business community. So for the International Trade Division, our goal is to help Georgia companies export. And why are we interested in that? Exports create twice the amount of jobs. One for creating the product, and another job in getting that product to market. Not only that, it makes you more competitive, it reduces your risk, and it just overall makes you a better company. 95% of the world's consumers are outside the U.S. So if you're only selling domestically, you could be potentially missing a very large audience. So how do we help? So the state of Georgia has 11 different international representatives. We're based in Mexico, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Brazil, China, Korea, Japan, UK, Ireland, and Germany. So if you're ever visiting one of those countries, let us know. Our international reps can assist and provide connections while you're there. I mean, that's what they're there for. They are our feet on the streets. They're there locally. They know the consumers. They know the market. And they're just an overall great resource. So as Billy mentioned earlier, two of our main things that we do are global insights and global connections. With Global Insights, we're able to provide market research and market intelligence about whether or not your product would be successful. And we can also provide you more information about some of the challenges or some of the opportunities that are available in that market. For Global Connections, we utilize our international reps. We also utilize different ways and work closely with the SBDC and the U.S. Commercial Service on the federal level. So we're able to identify some key partners for you. We're able to locate some partners and distributors on your behalf. But these are ways that we're trying to help Georgia companies export and grow internationally. As Kevin mentioned earlier about being mobile and making sure that your website has that capability, adding language capabilities is also something that you want to be interested in when you're looking at developing a website and if you want to go internationally. There are many different ways that you can do it. E-commerce is also a good thing that you want to look at. The traditional way of exporting has been, you find a distributor, you find a partner in that particular country, and then they buy your product and sell your products. That's your traditional way. And honestly, it's probably one of the most sustainable and stable distribution strategies. However, with e-commerce and the advancement of technology, exporting to Europe could be just as easy as exporting to Alabama. Last year, revenues through e-commerce were 1.2 trillion US dollars. And mobile commerce, so m-commerce, 38 billion of that was through purchasing through a phone or a tablet or some mobile device. So there are so many different opportunities out there, and being able to use technology to reach a new market are just things that you want to consider whenever you're talking about expanding your business.
Okay, that's great. What are some of the common mistakes that we make as business people and business leaders in trying to go beyond our borders and try to take our products elsewhere?
Right. Again, I'm going to kind of echo what Kevin said. Know who your audience is. I mean, just because you have a great product, I mean, that's amazing, and there is potential abroad, but you also want to know who your competitors are, right? You need to know your unique selling points. You need to know what the demand is, what the consumer is like. Every country is different, and every market is different. So just because it is successful here doesn't mean that it's going to be successful abroad, but it also doesn't mean that it's not going to be successful. You want to identify your unique selling points and know who your audience are, and actually make sure you're aware of the culture and the tariffs and the customs and things that are all associated with doing business internationally.
That's great. This is a tremendous opportunity for Georgia. I mean, not only are we expanding the port at Savannah, for exports of actual goods, but we can also go beyond that, such as my business, for instance, software. And you don't have to have cargo ships to move that forward, but you need the right strategy to be able to take it beyond the borders. And I encourage you to get with Nikki or Josh if you're planning to try to expand beyond the borders. And I'm sure they will be more than glad to work with you. Thank you, Nikki.
Oh, and I just want to add, I mean, we do a lot of trade events as well. So we host trade missions. We participate and exhibit at trade shows. And if you exhibit under the Georgia booth, it's a reduced cost for you as a Georgia company because you're exhibiting under a shared booth. But for example, we're going to Mobile World Congress, which is located in Barcelona, Spain, and we're taking a delegation there. So, I mean, if you're interested in participating, let me know.
Hey, we got volunteers, right? Okay, all right. Well, Chris, we're eagerly awaiting to hear what GIS is.
Okay, so show of hands, who knows what GIS is? All right, a lot of people. All right,
Okay,
that's
I'm
great.
sorry. Okay.
That's great. So, for those of you that do not, who knows what Google Maps is? Okay. On behalf of everyone who works in GIS that's in this room and around, Google Maps is not GIS. Okay? I've always wanted to say that on stage where everybody can hear it. Yeah? Okay. So GIS is really a way of visualizing data. So many times we capture information about our customers and about our business and about our suppliers and about everything we do, but we don't always make the most of that information. We don't always turn it into actionable information. I should say that it starts as data, and when it becomes information, that's when it's actually useful. So GIS is about taking this data that we have and using its spatial components to show you where your solutions are, where your challenges are, where your options are. And in listening to the speakers this morning and the other two panels, a GIS person hears the word where in everything. And they talk about, well, we've got urban and rural customers. Okay, that's where. We've got children that don't have access to the internet except at their public library. Well, where is that public library? So we hear where everywhere. Every time someone speaks, we listen for where, the spatial components and things. So when I began, GIS was seen as a luxury. And Billy referenced this. It was, technology is still seen as a necessary evil by some. And so is GIS, or spatial thinking. It's seen as a luxury. It's not. I've had countless conversations with communities about, well, here's why you need to invest in spatial technologies and spatial thinking instead of buying that bulldozer over there. That bulldozer is going to be great. It'll last you 15 years. The decision you make today can last you 15 years as well. Okay? So many, many times I lost out to a bulldozer. Many, many times I did not. And those communities that took that challenge, that started thinking spatially, it's paid off over and over and over again, from community planning to managing their assets and their infrastructure, even to private businesses. So I'll give you an example of how spatial thinking, thinking about your challenge as a business owner, just a little bit differently can make an impact on how you compete, how you can level the playing field with these big dealers. I was at a football game one time where all the collaboration in South Georgia happens. It was at a football game. And I'm sitting next to this guy, and I got to know him as the season went on, and he was in pest control, and he was running his own little business. He's a one-man operation. And he's talking about, mosquito season picks up. I'm really hoping to get some business. So I said, well, that's interesting, because we did a project with a local university to map mosquito traps. And not just to map them, but to also help them analyze their trap counts by species and by sex and by you name it. And throughout this project, a little aside before I tell you more about our conversation, but through this project, there were static traps throughout the county and the city, as well as some that moved around. And at the end of the mosquito season, if you will, the prior mosquito season, we had an idea of the population's mosquitoes throughout the county. And thinking spatially, we were able to combine that with wetlands data and with population data and with contour data and tree cover and canopy data, and identify the areas in the city and in the county that the public works departments needed to focus on. Here's your high-risk populations, your elementary schools, your nursing homes. Here's the type of wetlands and hardwood forests that these particular species that carry West Nile and Triple E like to live in. And here's the trap counts that back up that information. So I'm sitting there talking to this guy, and I said, well, we've got something that may help you. And so he describes to me that, he just doesn't know where to go to market his services for mosquito treatment. And I said, I've got the answer. Showed him this answer, and he was a happy customer. He purchased some data and some analysis. But what that did is that let this one guy compete with these regional pest control companies. Now, I know probably no one here is in pest control. But my point is that thinking spatially, thinking about your issues, your challenges, in just a little different way can make a very big difference. Very big difference. And collaboration is very important, While that happened at a football game, collaboration is very important to meet these challenges that we're all talking about today. If we don't talk to each other, we're going to be reinventing this wheel over and over and over again. So I guess my challenge for everyone is to think about your problems spatially. And if you don't take anything else away, remember, Google Maps is not GIS. Okay? Exactly. Yeah, it's coming.
Well, do you think you could develop some of those traps for my clients? I need some clients, and maybe we could.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris. Next, we have Josh. Josh is tremendous help for anyone who is wanting to expand their business or wanting to even get into business, coming from the Small Business Development Center at the University of Georgia, and he has a lot of experience and a lot of opportunities. What are some of the things, Josh, that you have seen that mistakes are made by startups or even companies that have been around that want to expand?
Sure. Well, thank you, Billy. We here in Middle Georgia, the Small Business Development Center, we work with between 300 and 400 businesses a year, statewide through 17 centers, and through our network, we deal with a couple thousand businesses a year, maybe more. So this thing about technology is a challenge in and of itself. How to use it most effectively. A lot of small businesses need education. And take, for example, social media marketing. Well, we know we can learn pretty easily what the stuff is and what it can do for us, but how do we implement it? And a lot of times what we see is small companies don't have an overall marketing strategy or plan or business plan to integrate some of the technologies that are out there. So we work with a lot of clients in developing an overall plan and or strategy, and then how do we implement some of this technology in that. Some of the things that we've seen where small businesses, technology, we've heard it a couple times up here, technologies have leveled the playing field sort of for small companies to compete with some larger companies. through cloud technologies where you can tap into networks at little or no cost. You look at some of the customer relationship management and POS systems that companies can have access to now at relatively, you don't need these huge IT budgets to compete as a small company anymore. So it's amazing what some of these systems can do. They can interface with your financial systems, interface with your customer databases, and you can just gather all of this information to help you compete on really a global level as a small company. So the challenges are how to integrate the technology as the technology changes, and how do you pull that in to your organization. We work with a lot of different types of businesses. Agriculture is a great example. You know, agribusiness in Middle and South Georgia is one of our biggest focuses. We work with a lot of small farmers who either have value-added products that they're offering, or their farm in and of itself is a business, and those technologies have changed. That may be the best example of any, where not only everything from the irrigation equipment and systems to the tractors to, we're even talking about unmanned aircraft now, or drones, where some of this technology is now, we're seeing some of it in South Georgia now. So getting qualified people to run this stuff is a challenge for agribusiness. So just one example of how technology can be very advantageous, but it can also create some challenges, and education becomes an issue. So,
okay, thank you very much, Jay. Jay, just like Kevin, power companies don't just pull cables, okay, and turn the power on, but part of the job of Flint Energies, like Georgia Power, is helping the communities and also businesses locate and to make the right decisions. How do you play in this role?
Maybe. There it
There
is.
you go.
Let me step back real quick. Billy, thank you for the introduction. Visionary was not the word my grandfather said to me as he handed the shovel on the farm in South Georgia. It wasn't visionary. But anyway, from the energy perspective, or from the community development perspective, we use tools that these guys create. I mean, Kevin down there, I mean, from the community, we're there to make them look better, so that when they're recruiting industry, or they're recruiting jobs, or they're trying to expand their goals as a community, use someone like Kevin to put a package together, use somebody like Josh to put a package together, so that then you find a way to export. So you use all these people, GIS, you use all these people to put that package together to really put the lipstick on a community that may not even know where they're going yet, and try to help them create a path to go. From Flint Energy's perspective, you know, you have several different bubbles. You have the large industrial recruitment process. You have the existing industry process of a brick and mortar. And recently, the thought process has also gone right back to organically growing businesses. And how do you organically grow businesses? Well, you know, if you have someone that's starting up an industry, or starting up out of his bathtub at home, which Steve Davis, and I don't know if you guys know Clean Control, which is a company down in Warner Robins, Georgia, started mixing chemicals in his bathtub. And now he sells product all over the world through Walmart and the other brands. Well, what we want to do is we want to look at using the assets of technology to help make him look bigger at the beginning, so he can go after those big marketplaces. But also, once he gets there, that he's able to fulfill what's the question that's being asked of him. Can you supply me the product you say you can supply me with? Now, you got a great product. Can you supply it? And then can you deliver? So that's the big thing for us, is trying to bridge the gap between the economic developers that are already out there, like Pat Topping and some of the other ones that work in the communities around us, helping them. But then it's also going to Taylor County Rentals, and stepping in there through their economic development person that has really limited resources and trying to bridge that gap for them in economic development. So that's really, on the energy perspective, that's what you're trying to fill the gap. The biggest thing for us is when you start looking at economic development and business development in your communities, you want to look for your resources. And a big understanding for us, and the digital side of this has really brought this to the table, is that you have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars pouring through your community right now that are digitally driven companies. That they are either home-based, cottage industry-based businesses. And so they're doing exactly what we're talking about. But what they're lacking in is a network of people that sit there and talk about best practices. About, okay, you're an e-commerce person. Okay, I got a guy right next to me that does e-commerce. Well, he doesn't, but the idea is how do I get that conversation started between someone that is just starting in e-commerce to understand that I've got a resource right next to me that can get him over a hurdle so that you talk about best business practices all the way through. So that's the biggest gap that we're facing right now, is going right back to existing industries, but also going back to cottage industries and home-based businesses and saying, hey, there's a new marketplace. And if you can tap into that marketplace, you'll have a whole different, diverse economy than what you have right now with the brick and mortar in the other industries.
And you're exactly right, and I want to tag on to that. I'm an example. Our company wanted to re-engineer, as I mentioned earlier, and we needed 10 engineers. We looked and we performed the traditional HR issues and put the ad in the paper and everything, and we were being very unsuccessful. And we reached out beyond our borders of central Georgia and found the individuals we needed to help us redevelop and re-engineer our company. And in doing so, they were not inside our four walls. But you know what? We got the job done. So we've got to change the way that we think as business people. You know, your employees may not need to be in the four walls, and you make sure that you're sitting there with a stopwatch when they walk in the door in the mornings, okay? This technology is gone and re-engineered the way we think and should think as business people. And you may have employees all over the country. And also, a lot of these employees may be contract workers that are doing just like Jay says. They're working out of their homes with many companies, like myself and other companies, and they're making a good living working from home. The wives like it too because they help clean the house, okay? All right. But it is a great opportunity for us as business people to change our methodologies of how we do business and look at beyond what traditions have been and reach out and embrace these individuals, especially in technology, that can work from home, that can contract labor and not necessarily have to be an employee. But had it not been for that environment that, Jay, you're talking about, I couldn't accomplish the task I have right now. So, you know, it's a very important thing for businesses.
It is, and the other side of this, too, is the government side. Yeah. I don't know how many of you guys watched the news this morning, but Tesla can't sell their cars in Michigan because of they won't build a brick-and-mortar facility. Tesla, one of the leading drivers of energy efficiency in car manufacturing, cannot sell their cars in Detroit. Can't sell their cars in Michigan, and 6 other states, and getting ready to be 9 other states. Digital technology in the new business model scares the death out of the political side of the tax base. When they start losing control of taxes, it scares them to death. They want to try to gather it all up. Okay? So as digital folks, it's also our job to help them understand where the revenue is going to come from, how the new business model works. And I can tell you, we don't have all the answers. But I can tell you by limiting the expansion of the new business model also limits how the growth is going to happen in the United States.
Okay. Thank you. Larry, I am, with my business and with us re-engineering, I've got to, go out and not only re-engineer my infrastructure, but I also need to go out and share this in a new presentation. And I need to be able to go out and get the oohs and ahs from my clients as they look and realize with the presentation that I am giving them through digital or whatever it may be, that we are changing. And we're the latest and the greatest technology. How do we do that?
I've been listening to this, this whole conference, and you're asking me about how we can get technology to control people, right?
Yep.
Well, I'm here to tell you that we can't control people. We can only control what we do in our businesses and our lives, even down to just family. The way we teach, or I teach my children, and I just recently learned this, is not to tell them and try to control them. It's to be what I want them to be. So I'm very inspired by just the group here. Digital is my church. I grew up in digital, and I started off having nothing. My father let me go at an early age, and he came back to me. We both came back together, and he said, "Son, you're in Macon. If I bought you a computer, could you make a living with that?" And I grew up coding, but back then it's just typing out of a programming magazine to make a game. That was coding to me. But I was exposed to the code. It was $12,000, and I told him it was too much. Just help me pay some rent here, and I'll get a college loan, and I'll... But the problem was there wasn't any education for the computer. It just came out. But I was so excited about the technology. I still am. How many of you know about the first personal computer, the Altair? How many of you? How many of you know that the inventor of the Altair is from Middle Georgia? From Cochrane. He also hired Bill Gates. He created the first personal computer, and what did this computer do? It was a solution to a problem that they were trying to figure out. There wasn't a problem that this computer could figure out. So they had to find the solution to this problem. Now, the amazing thing is not so much the computer itself. It's like, wow, a man from Middle Georgia invented the personal computer and nobody knows about him? He even hired Bill Gates. Bill Gates came here on his deathbed. He was in the medical center. How many people knew that? That Ed Roberts was in the medical center on his deathbed. Bill Gates flew in, Warner Robins Air Force Base, drove down 247 and visited him, paid his last respects to the man. Now, the one thing that was inspirational to me was not that he invented the computer. What was inspirational to me was that he came back to Middle Georgia because the Apple computer actually was more successful than the Altair because it was a usable personal computer, not just a kit, which what the Altair was. Now, here's the amazing thing. He came back home, and he went to Mercer University the first year that they had a medical school, And he became a doctor. He must have been in his 40s, late 40s. And he decided, I'm going to come home, I'm going to be a doctor, and became an old country doctor in Cochrane. I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome for my children when I say, what do you want to be when you grow up? That I don't constrain him to say, you can be this one thing. You can be an engineer. You can be an artist. You can be the best soccer player. You can be the... You know what I tell him? You do whatever you love to do. And you don't look at what anybody else thinks and do what you love to do. I call right now, we're all together here. I feel like I'm safe. You're present. You're aware of digital technologies. You're here because you want to learn. And you want to move Middle Georgia forward. Am I right?
Yep.
Do you want to move Middle Georgia forward?
Yes.
And y'all are looking for that magic button, aren't you? That one of these panels is going to give you that magic button, and bam, we're past Alpharetta.
That's right.
Right?
Absolutely.
That magic button.
That's it.
We're going to go to Google, we're going to do research and decode everything Alpharetta did.
That's it.
But you know what? You can't do that. Because it's all about people. When you boil down everything, if everybody has all the technologies and we're all equal again, because we've gotten everything is equalized, you know what's left? Us. I tell my businesses all the time, yeah, we can, if you do this, we can get ahead of them. If I'm in search engine marketing, all we have to do is do this, 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 that, and this. Go get your reviews. We'll be at the top. But you know what? It's only a matter of time before we all are at the top. So what differentiates you from anybody else? Yourself. And what you do, how you love it, and how you connect with people.
That's it.
Kevin and I connected yesterday, and we were talking about church. Mm-hmm. We're all asleep. When I was talking about church, and I don't know how many of y'all go to church, but this is our experience, is that we're supposed to be there to spread the word. But we go into church, we learn, and then we let the evangelists spread the word, right? Mm-hmm. It's safe. Because when we come into a business environment and talk about our beliefs, we're vulnerable, right?
That's right.
We think the same way about technology. We're here in a scarcity type of thinking. Oh, if I talk to him, he may steal my secrets, my methods. I haven't patented yet. I'm going to wait until they all go up there, and then when I know for sure that my business is safe, then I'm going to collaborate. The only way we are going to move forward in Middle Georgia is if we collaborate. We get together, look at all the strengths. My goal isn't to get all the business. My goal is to attract the people that I can connect with. It's all about business culture. And I want to end this with just a couple of things. I was part of the Digital Dead. I was just doing my work, loved doing my work. But as far as other people, I was threatened. Okay. And then these tech enthusiasts came into my life. They said, Larry, we've got this makerspace coming to Macon. Can you help us do a flyer?
Okay.
Sure. And I've done so much work for so many nonprofits in the past, and I'm like, well, that's going to take away from my family, and I can't do it for pay because digital is my church. Makerspace, that's my church. I make things. I can't do it for money. But here's what it gave me. Michael Rosario, Rob Betzel, Brent Lanford, Nadia Osman. Inspiration is the tech I needed to get up and wake up and start doing something with my skills to help everybody else.
Amen. That's good.
You lit the spark.
That's it.
So my goal is to help you all just light that spark inside of you. This isn't about you. This is about all of us, all our families. When we move all together en masse, we're going to get there so much faster than us working in our own little islands.
Thank you, Larry. We're going to have to cut short. But it is inspirational. And he has a passion. And that passion is what we all need to accomplish this task that we have at hand. And I'll leave with this. Just think about it. There was a company 3 years ago in Alpharetta. 5 gentlemen started this company. 3 years later, they have 2,400 employees, and they sold it 2 months ago for $1.7 billion. It's called AirWatch. Okay? I'm going to go back to that same thing that I said in the beginning. If they can do it, we can. And these maker spaces and these incubators, we've got to allow these and promote these and be part of these spaces to enable us to branch out ideas and formulate initiatives and thoughts and collaboration. And a key word to this digital summit probably is collaboration. And that's what we've got to do to accomplish the task. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I want to give my thanks to the panel here, who has been very, very informative.